Hi Mario, can you tell me about your language? You speak Galician. I think in English we say Galician.
Yeah,
In your language is Gallego, right?
yeah, yeah.
And people don't know much. I think a lot of people never heard of this language. Maybe I know this language is from Spain, but can you tell me about a bit more about your language?
So I am a native speaker of Galician, which is an Iberian Romance language, as well as Spanish, Portuguese, Catalan, yada yada yada. And what can I say about Galician? I mean, it's like fun, like the description of the language. I mean, the language could be like included in the dialectal spectrum of Portuguese because I mean they used to be the same language as Portuguese in the Middle Age, but since the Middle Age, like Portuguese, Portugal, not Portuguese, Portugal gained independence, so Galician got split up from Portugal. So like Galician got really influenced like phonetically and in vocabulary by Spanish, and Portuguese like developed in its own different way, no? But nowadays you can still understand pretty okay, no, not pretty okay, like really well Portuguese, and you can like learn it really fast because you only have to make some adjustments to the like to speak Portuguese, right? So what more can I say? I mean, there are 2.7 million speakers of Galician, and I mean, even though a lot of people know how to speak Galician, they don't speak it. They don't actually speak it like in their daily life. And like a couple of months ago, there was an historical event in Galicia where, for the first time in history, in Galician history, like the number of people who uses Galician as their daily language was less than the 50% of the Galician population. But still, I mean, pretty much everyone can understand or speak it like a bit because I mean you have to take Galician or your school life up to 17 years, like all your school life, and a lot of times it depends in the of the Galician university, but there are a lot of subjects and professors in university who use Galician as well.
I wanted to ask you about like social pressure is so because I know we have a social pressure. If you speak Ukrainian and everybody around you speaks Russian, you feel this pressure
Hmm.
and you're a little bit embarrassed. So I really wonder if this is the case in Galicia, because for me it seems like the situation has to be similar. So uh, is it a problem?
I mean, I mean, of course, like we have to start like very a lot of people who are like super Spanish nationalists and stuff. Like they view like all the other languages in Spain as like dialects or something that should not be taught because it is getting time from learning like more useful stuff. I don't know. They should be learning English and yada 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 whatever whatever whatever. No, I mean we are like kind of alternative like identity and language, and they don't see it like as something like that should exist, and they see it as a threat like to the Spanish unity, to the Spanish cultural unity, you know. But I mean, for example, for me, I here in Galicia I speak Galician every time, even though sometimes it's hard like there are contexts where you will be the only Galician speaker, but not for me like real because like my hometown it's like I don't know, maybe 70-80% of the people speak Galician, but not in another places like I don't know in Ferrol where Franco is from, maybe like 15% of people speaks Galician. So there's a lot of pressure, and also there's a phenomenon called like neofalantes, like new speakers, like people who were like educated in Spanish that they try to change their daily language to Galician, even though their family didn't taught them Galician, but they feel like this is like the correct way because it's like most people like how do you say it? Didn't speak Galician anymore because like during the dictatorship of Franco, like from 1939 till 1975, like it was like it was forbidden to taught at schools like Galician, Catalan, Basque, another language that wasn't Spanish. It was like they used to get punishments at school for speaking these languages, like physical and verbal and humiliation for speaking these languages, and they were not allowed in the public spaces. So a lot of people carry still to these days a lot of trauma about this language, and even though the kids nowadays don't carry this trauma, like they carry a lot of like prejudgments about what a Galician speaking person is, and maybe they think that a Galician speaking person is someone from a rural area, like they are not very educated and yada yada stuff. When actually, like most people who think that are monolingual in Spanish, they don't speak any other language, but they think that the Galician people who speak Galician, who are fluent in Galician and Spanish, are more uneducated when they are like bilingual. But I mean, we know how it works, and I mean, there's not a stigma like for my part, but I mean, sometimes it is a bit hard because yeah, no, that, but I mean, you can speak like I don't know. I can speak with someone who is speaking Spanish, and we can be talking Spanish Galician, and not anyone is changing the language. And also, there's a lot of people who I mean, it drives me crazy. Like they can be talking to you, and they say a sentence in Spanish, a sentence in Galician, then back to Spanish again, a sentence in Galician with a couple of Spanish words. I mean, it drives me crazy. People, because I mean it's a difficult situation for people to handle, and yeah, I think that yeah, in Ukraine, I mean, it can be like similar. I don't know if it's like so. I mean, because yeah, Ukraine it's like an independent country, and Galicia is like a region. It has never been an independent country since the Middle Age. So yeah. I mean, you can pretty know you can pretty much like know how it is. No, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very, very, very similar. And you said in the beginning that Galician is very close to Portuguese. So my question is, do you feel this like that you are like close, and maybe people who speak Galician, instead of watching content, movies, I don't know, anything, podcast in Spanish, they can listen if there is not enough content in your language, maybe you can use the content from Portugal or from Brazil. Is this happening?
Actually, not much. I mean, they like nowadays, like the public Galician TV, like Televisión de Galicia, is doing some effort, like to do like series and movies in collaboration with the Portugal TV. But there's not a lot of things. There are some programs now, especially like programs like in Twitch or stuff like that in from the Galician TV that are trying to make like they have a program in Twitch called Apuntamento Lusófono, where they invite people from Portugal and from Brazil like to like speak about like the different differences like in vocabulary, phonetics about between Galician and Portuguese. But historically there was not a lot of content in Portuguese available for us. And I think that it will be super useful because, I mean, pretty much when I see how can I say it, when I see stuff in Portuguese and stuff, there are a lot of words who are like authentically Galician, like traditionally Galician, who which we don't use as much nowadays because we are very influenced by Spanish and Spanish culture and Spanish like vocabulary, and most people like feel more there are more how can I say it, they feel more natural to use Spanish words, even speaking Spanish, like I don't know, for example, chair. They feel like that it's more natural to say silla instead of cadeira, which is like the genuine Galician word, because they are very used to using words in Spanish. I mean, I think that it pretty much it has to happen also with Ukrainian and Russian, where people is more used to use certain words in Russian than in Ukrainian. But yeah, I mean, it is what I mean. Traditionally, it used to not be a lot of content in Portuguese available, and I think that it would be super useful to increase your level of Galician, and also to be connected with these other speakers from around the world, Portuguese speaker around the world, which is also very beneficial for Galician.
But now you have the internet. So, for example, a young man or young girl in who are native speaking of Galicians, they can watch, I don't know, Netflix or YouTube in Portuguese instead of Spanish, or they don't care. They just they watch what they like. Probably, yes, doesn't matter
Yeah,
the language.
I mean, I think that it's a bit like unreal. I mean, I don't mean it as something bad, but it's a bit unrealistic to expect like young people and the public in general to go search for Portuguese content when they are so used to having everything in Spanish. Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Spanish in the world, right? Even though people, I mean, I think that it comes from racism at the end of the day, but a lot of Spanish people don't want to watch like this stuff like doubled to South American Spanish. They only want to watch stuff doubled to European Spanish, because I mean they think that it sounds funny, it sounds weird, sounds whatever. So yeah, but pretty much everything here is translated, and even like movies and series and stuff, everything is doubled to Spanish. I mean, so yeah. Yeah, the people is so used to consuming everything in Spanish, and it's like hard to change these dynamics without giving any further like arguments about like why should you do that.
But still, what recently I had this idea that it's quite unique that in Spain they at least recognize local languages, because it's not the case in Italy or in Germany, because in Germany they do have local dialects, which they are actually like languages, but nobody, or in Italy they have many regional languages, but they are not recognized, and they're viewed as only as dialects, and they are disappearing. So at least in Spain, they did recognize these languages, and although the situation is not perfect, but still it's better, right? We should admit the situation with your language, with Catalan, is better than with Italian languages or German. Or even in France, the language
Yeah, I mean,
almost
France is the worst.
yes.
France is the worst one. I mean, yeah, I think that it has, I mean, a lot of like elements which like lead to the current situation. But I like, for instance, like Germany and Italy, there are two pretty young countries compared to Spain. I mean, Spain, like the European territory of Spain, remained pretty much the same since the Middle Age. And like not France, like Germany and Italy, they were formed like in the late 19th century. So when they formed like the country, there were it is like composed by a lot of another kingdoms and stuff, which already had their own languages and their own literature and their own norms, but they all had to work to create a new national identity, no, and to have a new national identity, to make people feel like represented for something. They also had to create a new language, right? I mean, standard Italian and standard German, they are like pretty young creations compared to Spanish and stuff. And also, like, there's, I mean, of course, what is considered a language or a dialect has a very big political component, political and identitary component. So, for instance, Galician, it could, if the history was in another way, Galician could be considered a dialect of Portuguese, but it is not, because we are separate. We are separate countries, no. So, like, yeah, in Italy, they had to make like a new country, and like having different languages, having different identities, it is a threat to the unity of the country, no. So it is like in the best interest of the government to not have these kind of affairs, because it's easier to rule, and to, like, there's a one less problem, no. And it's not seen as something super useful, because I mean, there are some language, I don't know, like Venetian or like Sicilian, who were like, still to this day they are like broadly spoken. But I mean, people has this conception, and yeah, I mean, in Italy, I think there is way worse, like people who speaks like dialect, which are of course like regional languages. They are seen as super uneducated. They're, oh, my grandpa used to speak like that, and it's like, no, your grandpa used to speak another language, and you learn like artificially, you learn another new one, like the real one, which is artificial, which is not a natural language. But yeah, in Spain, I mean, for instance, like the Catalan people always had a lot of power and influence in Spain. Even like still to this day, they are like the most, like the richest region in Spain. So I mean, and there's a lot of like important rich people who also spoke like Catalan. So they were able to preserve it, and up to this day. And I mean, I actually don't know like the real reasons why. I mean, for me it's pretty obvious, like why shouldn't you do that? I mean, also, like, for instance, like France is very the French government is very centralistic, like the center of the government is Paris, and that's it. And in Spain we have this hybrid, how do you say, this hybrid type of
Federation, like.
type of government. Like, there's not like states, but they are not like provinces. They are like autonomous. They are called autonomous regions. So every autonomous region has a lot of power, especially the ones called like national historical nationalities, which are like Galicia, País Vasco, like Basque Country, Catalonia, Andalusia. They have a lot of like self-ruling powers, for example, in health, in language. So they pretty much could like declare how do you say it? Declare like official another language. So that's what they did, I guess. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, now it makes a lot of sense. I never thought that the Spanish language is older, is more ancient than, for example, Italian, and maybe even Catalan and the Basque, they already existed. But yeah, so that makes a lot of sense that Spain was created much earlier than Germany or
Yeah.
Italy. And France is also an old country, but as you say, there was this anti-regional,
Yeah.
and the policy was very anti. I don't know.
Not
Yeah.
French, not the ideal of a French person. Like, if they speak another thing or stuff, they are barbarians. They don't belong here. They have to learn like proper French, even though they didn't speak French at all. But whatever.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting. Thank you for answering my question, and good luck with your language. I hope more people will speak it, and with your channel. Yeah.
I hope so too. Galician is very easy and very, very, very useful.